Nobody expected the new girl to fight back. When Ava stepped into her new school for the first time, she looked quiet, almost fragile, clutching her backpack straps as though they were lifelines. Her big brown eyes scanned the crowded hallway where laughter echoed and cliques huddled. She looked like easy prey, the kind of girl who wouldn't dare raise her voice, let alone her fists. But appearances can be deceiving. By lunchtime, Ava had already become a target. 3 of the school's most notorious bullies, Brittany, the queen bee with her smug smile, Kyle, the loudmouth who always needed an audience, and Marcus, his hulking sidekick, zeroed in on her. They thrived on sniffing out weakness, and Ava, sitting alone at the edge of the cafeteria with her sandwich, looked like the perfect victim. "Hey, new girl," Brittany sneered as she strutted over. "What's in the bag? Your diary, or maybe some crayons? You look like a little baby." Her friends laughed, cruel and sharp. Ava didn't look up. She simply unwrapped her sandwich and took a calm bite. That calmness only irritated them more. Kyle reached over, snatched the sandwich, and squashed it in his hand, letting pieces fall onto the table. Marcus shoved her shoulder lightly, testing her reaction. Everyone in the cafeteria turned to watch, expecting Ava to cry or maybe run. But instead, she did something unexpected. She looked up, met Marcus's eyes, and smiled faintly. It wasn't the smile of someone scared. It was the kind of smile that sent a shiver down his spine, a smile that said, "You don't know what you've just started." Later that day, the bullies cornered her near the gym lockers. This time, they didn't just taunt her. Marcus shoved her harder. "What are you gonna do about it, huh?" he jeered. Students gathered, sensing a showdown. Ava exhaled slowly, dropped her backpack, and stood tall. Then it happened. In one fluid motion, she dodged Marcus's shove, hooked his arm, and twisted it just enough to send him stumbling. He let out a yelp as she pushed him away effortlessly. The crowd gasped. Kyle rushed in, fists raised, but Ava stepped aside and swept his leg, sending him crashing to the floor. Brittany, suddenly panicking, tried to slap Ava across the face, but Ava caught her wrist midair and held it with surprising strength. "You've had enough," Ava said calmly, releasing her with a look that was more terrifying than any punch. The bullies were left humiliated, sprawled on the floor while the crowd erupted into cheers and whispers. Word spread like wildfire. The new girl wasn't just tough, she was unbeatable. But what nobody knew yet was why. That night, alone in her room, Ava looked at an old photo of her father in uniform. He had been a soldier, strong and disciplined, the kind of man who taught his daughter how to protect herself, not just physically but mentally. Ava had trained for years in martial arts, boxing, and self-defense, not because she wanted to fight, but because life had taught her she would need to. After her father's death, bullies had followed her from school to school, mistaking her silence for weakness. She had promised herself never again to let fear rule her life. The next day at school, whispers followed her everywhere. Some students looked at her in awe, others with respect. For the first time, Ava wasn't invisible, she was a force. The bullies, however, weren't finished. Humiliated, Brittany and her crew plotted revenge. They cornered Ava after practice one evening in the empty gym, shutting the doors behind them. "You embarrassed us," Brittany spat, her voice trembling with rage. "You think you're better than us." Ava stood her ground. "No," she said quietly, "but I won't let you hurt me or anyone else." The bullies lunged, but the fight was over before it began. Ava moved with precision, using their own strength against them, never striking harder than necessary but enough to leave them breathless and defeated. At last, she stood over them, her voice firm but calm. "This ends here. You can keep being bullies, but you'll never win. Not against me, not against anyone who decides to stand up." And then something unexpected happened. Brittany's mask cracked. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, "You don't get it, I have to be like this. If I'm not tough, people walk all over me." Her voice broke, revealing insecurity buried beneath layers of cruelty. For a moment, Ava saw the scared girl behind the bully. She knelt beside her and said softly, "You don't have to hurt people to be strong. Strength is standing tall without tearing others down. You think fear gives you power, but it only makes you lonelier. That moment planted a seed. It didn't transform Brittany overnight, but it cracked the armor she wore. Slowly, over the weeks that followed, she and the others backed off. The bullying eased, not just for Ava, but for other students too. Ava's courage had shifted something in the whole school. By the end of the year, Ava was no longer the new girl. She had friends, respect, and most importantly, peace. She hadn't just fought off bullies. She had shown everyone what true strength looked like. Not fists, but courage, discipline, and compassion. And the message lingered. Sometimes, standing up to bullies isn't about winning a fight. It's about proving that no matter how loud cruelty gets, kindness and courage will always be stronger. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Behind silence may lie a strength forged in fire. And true strength isn't just about fighting. It's about inspiring others to rise above fear and cruelty.